God damn it. Well, this is gonna be a pain. Hello. Sorry, the program just updated, so now everything's all messed up. Ah, there's Becky. Okay. So now I gotta fix everything. Da-da. Should be about here. Yeah. Let's see. Normally this isn't in the way. There we go. Oh wow. Gotta love those perfectly timed moments. Wait, where's the cup? Oh, there it is. I was like, fuck. Wrong button. Oh shit. I don't know what. There we go. Hopefully I got the sizes right. Sucks that it updated my whole thing. I think Becky was a little bit bigger and moved over a bit more. Blah blah blah. Okay, trying to make sure she's not like hopping out of nothing. Yeah, I might as well chill for a moment while I'm fixing this. Oh, God damn it. Turn that off. There you go. That should be big enough. Coffee should be fine. I don't even want to think about the smaller one for when I use it for games. I'll just kind of wait until that gets fixed. Alright, so for some reason this stopped working. So let's fix it with properties. There we go. There we go. What the hell? Why didn't it fix it? Properties. No. What the hell? Why isn't it fixing it? Oh, maybe that's not what I'm looking for. No, that's something else. It's one of those things where it's like you don't know what the problem is until you find it. Let's try this again. Properties. Maybe if I do it this way. Oh, that's not even It's not even close. So then, what the hell's in front? No. It's like something is in front of the screen. Is it this? Oh, okay. There. What the fuck? Why was this on? Okay, huh. Well, that was weird. But now, I think this screen is fucked up. Okay, so yeah. That's weird. What the I don't even know why that was a thing. Turn all of that off since we're not using it. Okay, we're good on that. I don't even know what the fuck this was about. Okay, I guess we're good now. That was weird. Alright, back to work. I have no idea why that happened. That's funny. It's like, do you like Vor? Have some beef. Gotta love the algorithm. It's like I had to sneeze. I was like, fuck, where's the mute button on the mic? Ah. Tangled hot gator on it. Like, man, I've been in the gators since forever. It's not hard. Like, remember, I grew up in the 90s. That shit was prevalent. Well, you think there's that episode of Donald Duck being chased by a thick gator woman who wants to marry him. Catching me is not hard either. All you need is something decent from the 90s and I'm pretty much there. It's like, what? Callie Briggs? Heck yes. What? Gadget Hack Crunch? Heck yes. What? Maid Marian? Heck yes. Like, it's too easy. Daisy Duck? Kanga? It's way too easy. Tangle some booty, here comes now. That's more Plum, but pretty much the same thing. I mean, what am I kidding? I made Plum, so yeah. You just looked her. Ha! Exactly. She big thick too. Her whole ass just fucking eclipses him. Put this on a different layer. Yeah, I hope everyone's doing all right. But yeah, growing up with all the content that I've grown up with, it's no wonder I'm into the things I'm into, or I'm an artist, or whatever. Fucking comic nerd. Aw. Sorry to hear that. Mine passed away not too long ago as well. And one of my friends' grandparents, or well, not grandparents, but grandmother had passed away, I think last month. I think it was last month. So damn. Just a trifecta right now, huh? But yeah, sorry to hear that. Big hug. Big hug. Yeah, let me put in a big hug. Let me put in a hug emoji. There you go. Big hug. That's good. At least if they go peacefully or in their sleep or something, then you know, at least hopefully they didn't suffer. I'm like, bitch, where are your glasses? And I'm like, oh, I guess I do it in a different way. Okay, so did all that. Luckily, it's only this panel I gotta think about. That's good. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta handle it as it comes. Okay. Okay, what's the best way to do this? Do that, and then deselect this. There we go. And now I need this. And this is how we learn. Sorry, I'll try to mute that whenever I got a cough like that again. Shouldn't matter. If it does, I'll deal with it. There was never a way to bring it back to 4. Oh god, if I could probably do an internal alt, but we're gonna see her inside anyway on the next page. But yeah, there are reasons for what's going on. Oh yeah, I still need to make the voting stuff. I'll do that whenever I'm done streaming. Gonna see how long I can go for today. And I need my references up. My computer closed it all earlier. Black Circus. Thank you. I don't know why my computer added that feature. It's so dumb. I'm not likely to use it. Oh, I guess it's the no, that doesn't make sense. Never mind. But yeah, I don't know why they do updates like that. It's like, oh, here's this feature, and I'm looking at it going like, who would use this? And why would they use it? Anyway. You're not even climbing that bar with me. I'm trying. I'm gonna do whatever I can to get that shit going. Gonna try to make it happen this year. So there's a divorce scene that has folks that... if that were the case, to be the case, Alex, this is way before that. Kind of fun. And it would likely happen with smaller creatures because Red and her friends currently have access, or at least in her flashback, have access to being elastic for a short amount of time, or for a temporary amount of time. Oh yeah, I was gonna... That's what I was looking for. But this is definitely not one of those fun times. Now for a serious question, Becky. Did you get off your ass and take care? Yeah, she took care of me, even if she doesn't want to admit it. She's like, how you feeling? And I'm like, man. And she's like, okay, fine, I'll get you something. Then I don't know, maybe I'll be all groggy like, thank you, Becky. And she's like, she like mumbles, you're welcome. Maybe I'll draw that sometime, or I don't know. See her in a nurse outfit. I'm sure Pax would like to see her in a nurse outfit too. Get that classic bend over and see a giant fat ass. I would say Red is more smiling at Joanne's reaction to the situation. The Eclipse is alright. I'm just kind of like, huh, neat. I think I remember it happening when I was in middle school. A strap-on calling it a thermometer. Yeah, that sounds about right. There's some techniques I want to practice later down the line. Virality. But yeah, we're currently seeing Red during her fat phase. When she was a chonker. I mean, technically she had that when she was a lot younger, but now she's having it again. Because of her vor phase. But yeah, hopefully this is a good time for streaming. I figured 12 o'clock should be as good as any. Oh yeah, a solo pick of Fat Red. Yeah, that'll probably be a thing later down the line. Still need to decide the next weight gain drive. Well, I mean, there was those the previous page of her being shown. So it's not like I didn't show you what she looked like fat. Yeah, it works for me. I just gotta get a decent schedule going for what days I can stream. So maybe for this week I'll stream on today and tomorrow, and then next week I'll do it on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Fridays is a little hectic because I have to put out rewards and stuff like that, so I think I'm just gonna not stream on Fridays. And then Saturday and Sunday I want to take the time to work on stuff. Because even though I like streaming, sometimes it actually slows me down. So I'm trying to limit how many days I'm streaming, but I will try to stream longer. So I know there's times where I can't stream the comic pages because they get too graphic for Twitch. And sometimes I'll use Picardo. Like, if I'm gonna stream the Risque stuff, it'll probably be on, like, Wednesdays or something. But for the most part, I'm gonna be using Twitch, at least until Twitch crashes and burns. Which seems to be the case at the moment. But, I'm gonna keep doing that. But I can always stream, you know, characters, poses and stuff, or like, you know, for updated artwork. Working on cards, because I'm gonna be trying to do that more often. So yeah, there's a lot I'm gonna try to do. But yeah, like if I absolutely can't stream, now I'm just gonna say, come on, Kick, you fire that 50 million deal. If okay, well, of course, no lie. If Kick for whatever random fucking reason decided to do that, I'll be like, all right, I will fucking make an OC that represents Kick, and I will have all of my characters kiss that ass and suck that dick, like open mouth, no hesitation. All the pressure, nothing. Like Plum will be there, like right up on that crotch. It's like, you know, I'm gonna look up if Kick even has a mascot. And they don't. Just gonna draw some, I don't know, big titty anime chick with the fucking huge ass dick there. suck that dick. Or make it a guy. I don't care. Make it a wolf. I don't know. Just make it some fucking alpha male wolf, big Chad, huge hyper dick there. And then the character's name is just Kick. There we go. Why wouldn't it be? We're like, all right, Plum, go suck that dick for us. And she'd be like, I'm already there. You know what? I should probably fucking... Do I have an account on Kick? I probably do. I think I made one, but I haven't done anything on it. Just gonna type in Kick and see where that gets me. Did I make an account on here? Does it look like it? I should probably make one. Hold on, let me just make one just to have it. If I haven't already. What do you mean it's there? Jesus, it's like, oh, your password is weak. I'm like, well, fuck you too. Blah blah blah, yes. Okay, I now have a Kick account. I will deal with that later. Weak like its own. That'd be fucking Becky. Nah, that wouldn't be Becky. I don't know who the hell that would be. That'd probably be Kiwi. Kiwi smartass. But yeah, I'll look through Kick's terms and all that to see what I can and can't do. Although I am aware that they are pretty lax on their rules. But I would like to take a peek at what nonsense they'll allow me to do. So what? I can draw big titty furries going at it. Best fucking side ever. All I know is that Kick is a little bit more lax on things. It's basically just Twitch, but slightly better. Like, honestly, Twitch is fine if they would just stay consistent with their fucking rulings. Like, if they're gonna ban certain people for, like, the most minimal bullshit, but then allow somebody who's had sex on stream to still stay around, then that's just some inconsistent bullshit. Dick Twitch. Exactly. Like, that's literally all Twitch's problem is that they're inconsistent. And then they're definitely pussies for the whole, oh, we're allowing artistic nudity or whatever the fuck that thing was. And everyone's all telling me, like, oh, look, you can draw smut on Twitch now. And I'm like, wait a moment. And then it fucking died on the same day. Not even 24 hours. Fucking called it. I was like, damn, Twitch. I didn't even have to get up. Like, and all they have to do is just make a 18 plus mode or something. And I understand. I know why they back down quick and shit. It's because of advertisers. It's always like when it comes to mature content, it's either advertisers or banks that are the pussies. Because they want to pretend that they're all family friendly when they're not. It's like, oh, we're family friendly. It's like, oh, really? So that's why you're having child labor making your shit, huh? Or, oh, that's why you secretly allow people to buy porn, but then you say you don't allow porn to be making money. And I'm like, well, then why is there still porn? It's like, do you have any idea how difficult porn would be to make money with if credit card like the good credit card companies, the popular ones, didn't allow it? Unless it's one of those situations where it just goes pay directly to or from bank, then that's like a whole other situation, but still. Yeah, exactly. Because OnlyFans was trying to be that company where it's like, because I forget, there was like another company that did this, but OnlyFans was that company where it was like, oh well, we don't have we have to be all family friendly because, you know, credit card companies or banks and all that won't let us do that and all that, and there's no other way to, you know, run our business. So they try to get rid of not safe for work shit. And then they were about to become fucking Tumblr, but then they like, oh look, we figured it out, and everyone's like, of course you did, because when you're gonna lose a shit ton of money, you're gonna fucking figure it out. And I know there was like a video. I forget which game this was, but there was one company talking about like, oh, we can't take this out of the game because it's essential or some bullshit. And so everyone started to leave that game because it was just gonna be full of nonsense, or I forget what it was. It was probably either like some stupid ass microtransaction thing, or maybe it was like DRM or something. And so they were losing users, and like not that long later, they removed that feature that was hindering the game or something, and everyone's like, "Oh, I thought you said this was important. You couldn't get rid of it." And it was like a couple of clicks or some shit, and they fucking removed it without any problems. And everyone was just looking at them, going like, "Uh huh." It's like companies just need to stop being a fucking pussy about mature content and just run with it. Do whatever they gotta do to ensure that they still get money without pissing off certain companies or banks or whatever, advertisers, whatever bullshit. Like, even advertisers aren't gonna give a shit if it becomes not like generalized, but just like it's known enough where they can still make money without people bitching. And like, even if people did complain, I should probably drink some fucking water. Oh, yeah, damn. I'll wait a bit. I'll wait for the ads to go away. Do. Okay, we're back. But yeah, like if like if people just stop giving a shit about the whole mature content thing. Like, I'm not just saying like, okay, have no barriers for children and they're just gonna, I mean, that's the problem that Twitch has right now. If you go to Twitch on a fresh account, all you're gonna see is titties and ass. And normally that would not be a problem. At least not in my case. I wouldn't give a shit. Shit, when I was like 13, I saw that shit all the time. It wasn't even difficult. But like, if little kids are like under 12 or whatever are going on Twitch to watch, you know, people play Minecraft or whatever games they like, understandably there needs to be some kind of tag system or mature content tag, like, you know, to keep younger children from seeing that shit. And then after that point, that's on the parents. Like, if the site itself already put in the effort to try to keep kids out, then after that it's parents. Like, websites should not be babysitters. Like, I mean, that's just a fact. It shouldn't be like, oh my god, my kid saw this woman's ass on Twitch, and you know, you need to remove that shit. It's like, no, you need to be a goddamn parent and watch the shit that your kids are looking at. And shit, my mom tried when she was back in the day, like when Grand Theft Auto San Andreas came out, the original, and it had the hot coffee thing in it. And that was literally the only reason why my mom wouldn't let me get that game, was because of the hot coffee thing. Which, you can't even, like, honestly, back then, all I knew is that it was a thing for the PC version of the series. I didn't even have a PC that could run that shit. And I know it was in the PS2 version of the game, but I had no means of hacking and shit like that, so it was like that whole situation was beyond my ability. But my mom wouldn't let me get that game anyway because of that situation. And then when I finally looked up that the scenario in the game, it wasn't even that big of a deal because the characters were still wearing clothes and shit like that. It was just them being animated for shits and giggles, and you had to hack the camera to follow them in order to even see it in the first place. But she tried her best. You know, she was actually being a mom and, you know, being a parent, did what she could. And then my neighbor across the street had the game anyway, so it wasn't even like it mattered in the end. And I even told her this, and she's like, "Well, I tried." I'm like, "Yeah, you did. you tried." And that's all that mattered. Was I capable of seeing it? Sure. I mean, once YouTube was a thing, I could see the scene and just laughed. Because, like, okay, by the time I saw, like, when did San Andreas come out? Hold on. Let me look that up. Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas, when did that come out? 2004. YouTube wasn't a thing, was it? I might have seen it on like random sites or something. When did YouTube start? It started in 2005. So yeah, I must have saw on some like random ass site for that scene. But by the time I saw that scene, because 2004, yeah, by the time I saw that scene, I had already been exposed to like fucking tons of furry shit, weight gain, vor, whatever by that point in time. So even when I did see that mod, it wasn't even that impressive to me because my standards were so fucking high at that point. Like, honestly, mature content, all it's done to me is just make me be judging other content now. Where it's like, oh my god, this is so violent, and I'm looking at it going like, bitch, have you played Mortal Kombat? Or even if you have played Mortal Kombat, it's like, bitch, have you looked at horror movies from the 90s? That shit was bloody as fuck. This is nothing. Yeah, see, if you have parents who know what you have, and or even know like what they bought you and stuff like that, but they just, you know, they approve it and stuff like that, then there you go. Like okay, so get this. So my mom wouldn't let me get San Andreas, but big old but, she let me. She got me things like what you call Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball, which doesn't have nudity, but I mean, let's be honest, does it really need it? Get the Venus G-string outfit, and there you go. Like, she got me that, and then I think she got me Halo. Yeah, she got me Halo 1 and 2, which, you know, that those games aren't that big of a deal anyway. But then in the same breath, she's the one that let me watch Spawn when I was like, when did that come out? I think I was like 10 when that came out. Spawn animated series. When did that come out? That came out in 97. So I was 9 when that came out. She let me watch that, but she wouldn't let me get San Andreas. So let that simmer in your mind for a moment. And I get it. You know, she's one of those parents who, you know, watched a lot of the news back then, and, you know, just kind of went with whatever was being discussed at the time. Oh yeah, Blockbuster was the shit. Those are the days where you rented a game, you destroyed that game. You were not going to rent a game and not beat it. You were going to rent that game and destroy it. Yeah, like if your parents are already aware of, you know, what's in the content and stuff like that, and they're like, that's not that big of a deal, then there you go. That is them being a parent. That is them deciding what they think is okay for you and stuff like that. That is them doing their job, and that is perfectly fine. The thing I get pissed off at is when parents don't want to, you know, do their fucking job and just blame the content creators, as if it's their fucking job to figure out whether or not little Timmy can see a boob. And oh god, that always irks me. It's like, oh no, we can't see tits and ass, but fucking guns are fine. Blowing a guy's head off is fine. Watching a guy get blown up with explosives is fine, but oh, God forbid we see a boob. That's just taking it too far. I mean, that'll bring back the devil. And you can see why I get pissed off about this shit now, because I understand the bullshit behind it, and censorship in of itself just pisses me off. Because if something has to be censored, that's just telling me I'm not getting the original intent of the content or the creator's vision, and I'm getting some watered down baby version that I'm gonna feel like a fucking idiot in the future whenever I discuss it, because other people would have seen the original version, and I'm gonna be talking about the censored version as if that was like the canon version. Yeah, right. Like, I mean, I understood all this shit watching Tom and Jerry. It's like, gee, do not use a knife, do not grab a gun, and whatever. I mean, it wasn't fucking rocket science. And granted, I understand certain kids need to be taught a little harder than others. Like, that's not over my head. I get it, but Jesus, like, this was not a lost. This was not a lost skill to be learned. It's like, hey kids, fantasy is fantasy, alright? You understand this. But yes, I understand that I am not Superman. I cannot stand in front of a train and take it in the face. And yet I know that me saying that, there's at least one person who thought they could. And really get into more adult game stuff and that's fine. Me, I just seen everything like pretty early, and I just kind of went like, all right, cool. It's like I was more interested in watching Spawn kick someone's ass, or just be a cool superhero. I'll be honest. I think I got into Spawn randomly from like a neighbor at one of my mom's friend's house. Like, they had a neighbor who had like a bunch of like old comics, so they had like Armored Spider-Man. I think they had Spider Carnage too, comics, and then they had Spawn, and then randomly there was like a yard sale and somebody was selling their old toy of Spawn, so that's how I got into Spawn, I think. And I just thought the character was cool. Yeah, there was nudity and stuff every once in a while, but I shrugged that off because I was just like, okay, cool. That didn't bother me at all. And then later down the line, I was just like, okay, yeah, all this is happening, but I'm more interested in the plot. No facials for V. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously everyone is different, and everyone grows up in a different way. I just grew up in a situation where it's like I understood reality from fantasy, and that was it. The fact that people keep treating fictional things as if they're real is a huge problem. Because that means whenever something real happens, people are gonna not take it as seriously. And it just bothers the hell out of me. It's like just have websites have the appropriate tags and, you know, walls or whatever. You know, it's like, oh, you're not 18, well, you can't see this, and then that's it. Like that's literally the extent that you have to go. So let's talk at further length about these comic characters. Okay, well, Joanne so far has sucked a huge ass dick from a demon guy, got drugged, ate the guy, basically digested him at this point, and now we're talking about one of her new co-workers who got eaten by a whale. Who will never have nice things. We have nice things, it's just people don't want us to have nice things for some reason. And then once our nice things are gone, that means their nice things are going to get taken away next, and then that's when they're not going to be happy. And then we can all look at those people and go like, well, this is what you wanted, dumbass. Somebody gave you soda and you said, oh, and your parents bitched about you having soda, so now nobody gets soda, but I guess we're going to go after the juice now, huh? No more apple juice, because nobody wanted to let us have soda. There you go. Exactly. There are so many fucking pussies now, these last decade or so, that I'm just like, what happened here? Like, when I really started to dislike censorship was when I first saw Yu-Gi-Oh! In Japanese, and I realized how much fucking content I was missing. And I was like, what happened here? Especially when there's a huge difference in music. And then once I watched Pokemon in Japanese, I was like, okay, I can never watch Pokemon in English again. Unless it's like the old 90s version, or 90s seasons. Because after that point, it's literally a different show. Because it has such a different outcome, a different emotional output. Oh yeah, that saying. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, Sonic X is different. Like, whenever basically anything 4Kids had touched is a huge ass difference in the Japanese version, because you get such a different emotional tone based on both the music and the dialogue, and of course the censored scenes. And so I just refuse to watch those versions because I know I'm not getting the intended story. Like with Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like, oh, we're sending them to the Shadow Realm. It's like, bitch, those characters died. There was no fucking Shadow Realm. They straight up died. It's like, Bakura kills Bones. Think about that for a bit. How old was Bones anyway? Shit. Let me see if it'll tell me. I mean, I don't think the characters really had ages for the most part. Oh yeah, his name was Ghost. Ghost, Katsuzuka. Don't think it'll tell me. I mean, it's not like it was brought up anyway. But he was like a kid. I'm assuming he was like 12 or some shit. Or at least around the same age as Yugi, so maybe 14, 15. At most. But yeah, kid characters fucking died in Yu-Gi-Oh! Fucking Bandit Keith in the manga gets shot in the head by Pegasus because Pegasus turns his hand into a gun, or turns Bandit Keith's hand into a gun and shoots himself in the head. I was just like, holy shit. Why wasn't this in the original? Or why wasn't this in the anime, I should say. Yeah, like, there was so much more risque content back then. Back when fucking hentai was, like, super prevalent. Like, I always wondered how much money hentai made in order to keep going, because you gotta think about it. Hentai is fucking... I mean, animation alone is expensive. And they're making, like, what? 3-episode OVAs? And that's it? Maybe longer, or maybe longer if it's really popular. And like after a certain point, I'm not even thinking about like the adult content. I'm just thinking about, one, the detail and animation style and stuff like that. 2, how the fuck are they surviving in the economy? Like, and this was already me at a young age. Like I'd already surpassed being like, oh my god, look, it's a boob. Like, nah, that was beyond me at that point. I was more interested in the fucking context of everything. And then once I slowly started to realize that the shows I liked were being censored, or the content that I randomly would come across on the internet was just like based as hell, I just started to be fucking jaded about the fucking censorship. It was just like, no, don't give me censorship. It's stupid. Just let me decide if I can handle it and then move on with my life. Male gazy content got cringe. I know, right? So, look. I mean, and the funny part was, there was like content for women too. It was like, oh, here's sexy men or gay content. I mean, everybody was into gay content. Nobody gave a shit. Like, look, lesbians. And you're trying to tell me, it's like, oh, you know, that's, nobody likes gay stuff. I'm like, excuse me? Have you seen hentai? They make that shit look awesome. I don't know. I just grew up in a time where people didn't give a shit about that stuff. They just went like, oh, cool, and just checked it out. And then, you know, avoid letting family find out what you're into, at least until later down the line, where you just randomly tell them anyway. Back when comic characters were for nerds. Ah, those were the days. We'll never have that again. Or at least not to the same level. Back then, being into Spider-Man and the X-Men was considered cringe. Now everybody's into it. Like, I always laugh whenever people's like, oh, like my friend's younger sister, she's super into Groot from Guardians, and I just sit there and laugh. I was like, I never would have thought that she was going to be super into Groot of all characters, let alone superhero content. Like, that did not, like, I know she liked Batman and I think Superman to a degree, but like, that was like the extent that I could ever picture that. Yeah, early ecchi anime. Yeah, god damn. I know some of it's like really, really bad in terms of dialogue and stuff like that. It's just really like, man, they did not put in effort into these. And then other ones I'm just like, nah, man, I can watch this forever. And then we have like series like Slayers, Tenchi Muyo, whatchamacallit, Cowboy Bebop, like, you know, the good shit. Tekkaman, or Technoman as I was introduced to it at the time. I was watching Sailor Moon when I was like 6. Did not give a shit. I just thought it was just like, oh, it's like Power Rangers, but like this. That was it. Enjoy your nap. Like, Sailor Moon to me was just Power Rangers, but as a cartoon. And then Dragon Ball, basically everybody was in the Dragon Ball. Even if you didn't watch Dragon Ball, you knew what Dragon Ball was. Yeah, they removed that Sailor Uranus and Neptune were lovers, and Disc said that they were cousins. And with the Starlights, I don't remember how far they got in the version that I was watching, but I know in some versions they took out the whole women disguising themselves as men thing and made it so that they just have male characters that summon their sisters or some bullshit. Depends on the context of those, but I can understand that. It's like having mature content for the sake of mature content. Kind of like what's the way I want to phrase? Like having mature content for the sake of mature content is just kind of like it's like basically telling a bad joke. It's like you're trying to be funny, but it's not coming off as strong because you're just kind of saying it. When you make that, when you just toss it in, it loses its value pretty quickly. If it's there, but it's like more part of the situation rather than just making it for like extreme view or something like that. That's how you work it in better, that's how you can make it work in terms of like having a serious story. Like for example, I could have made iHat without all the adult scenes and stuff like that, but to me, I put it in there because I figured that's what would naturally happen anyway, and that I didn't want to just like sugarcoat or tiptoe around the scenario. Because I mean, again, when I by the time I made iHat, I was already in my mindset that I didn't want to censor shit. Could I have? Sure. Maybe it would have. It could grab a wider audience if I did, but it's just not the thing I wanted to do. But yeah, like to me, it's just more of like, well, this is how it would be, type of situation. And could I get creative with it? Sure. like I could easily just make it be a comedy and just be like, oh, here's Marcy getting ballooned up by Skylar, and oh, they're all kissy and that's kind of it. Like that's the extent we'd ever get. And then probably we would likely not have anything that had to do with Marcy and Blake. Any hints there? Maybe just that they're really close friends, and that's about it. If I was gonna censor shit, yeah, like minus the adult scenes. There you go. I mean, you can have a fetish game be mainstream. It just depends on how people receive it, honestly. Unfortunately, people are all what's the word I'm looking for? Like turn their nose up to content like that just because it's nudity and stuff like that. It's like, man, can't we go back to the Roman days or whatever when making nude statues is fine? Or even just Renaissance, like, oh, here's this very nice painting. Nobody gave a shit back then. What happened? It's just one of those things where it's like, make the content you want to make, And if people don't like it, that's perfectly fine. But they shouldn't be telling you what you can and cannot make. Like, that's my stance. It's like, make what you want to make, as long as things don't hurt people or whatever bullshit, that's perfectly fine. But also, people shouldn't be trying to control what you're allowed to make, or change what you do in order to suit their needs. Or not even needs, just their ideology. Because that'd be like saying, oh, I don't like furries, I don't want furries in video games. And you have no idea how many fucking characters that would be. There's so many. Hell, if that was the case, we wouldn't even have Pokemon. Or Digimon. Or a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters. It would all just be humans and elves. That's basically it. And even then, elves would probably be like looked at as like, well, elves is a little too... I don't know, somebody will make up some fucking random excuse why elves is a bad thing. But yeah, like, you should be able to have like a mainstream game every once in a while show nudity for whatever reason that the creator chose for that reason to happen, and it not be a big deal, because it isn't. But at the same time, I'm not saying those type of content should just be easily accessible to like kids, for example, unless they jump through the hoops to get it, or you know, their parents just fucking bought it because they're the ones that control that shit. But it shouldn't be on the creator on whether it's okay to do so. It's like, nah, they wanted to make it that way, you experience it the way they intended it, and there you go. Hell, if I was in that mentality, I probably wouldn't even have Blake as a character. It's like, oh, because like originally she was supposed to be goth, so it's like, oh, can't have a goth character because that's too much for the old people. It's like, goths, that's close to Satan. I don't know. I don't know. There'd be some bullshit around it. Anyway, that's just my views on stuff like that. I'm in the house of just properly block it or tag it, whatever the phrasing is, and then that's it. If kids manage to see it, then their parents suck at watching them, or you know, understanding what their kids look at. It's like, why do we even have the rating system if parents aren't even gonna look at it? Like, we're now at the situation where Stellar Blade makes a character with normal body proportions that a woman physically has, that they specifically based off of a real person, and people are bitching about it, saying that, oh no, this is sexualizing women, or this is unrealistic body type. And I'm like, bitch, I'm looking at the person right now. They're right there. They're real. This is not a body type that I have not seen in real life. Play the Dark Champion theme. Excuse me, sorry. God. Yeah, I'll play it when this playlist is over.
Just remind me if I forget. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get me some water. I'll be right back. Yeah, I saved. I'm back. But see I'm fine with having chubby characters. The problem is that the people who were trying to push for like, well, air quotes ugly or fatter characters and all that. The problem is they went about it the wrong way, and now basically, if we were to get those characters, people are gonna think that it has to do with the whole woke bullshit. So they kind of like fuck themselves over by trying to push it so hard, or trying to like change content when it came overseas, or just in general for like stories and shit like that. Is that the stuff they want? It's like the stuff they want to see in games, which they themselves could have just, made in their own content instead of just trying to change or insert it into others. They could have made that themselves. But because they were too dumb and just wanted to change other people's work instead of just making their own, now, if anybody did want to do that, those characters are going to be looked at weird, because people are going to wonder, oh, is this because of some woke bullshit? It's like, no, because I want to, like, okay. Like, imagine if I made iHat as a game, and I just focused on the shit that I focused on. Like, the stuff in the comic just became a game. That's, like, 1-to-1. You're gonna have people looking at that game in such weird ways, because on one end, people are gonna be like, oh, they're just making them fat because of some woke bullshit. Two, they're gonna be like, oh, this is sexualizing so-and-so or whatever. And it's gonna be all over the place. And it's like, oh, this is some furry shit or whatever. It's gonna be so all over the place. Nope. Well, for one, I don't think anybody's gonna know what the fuck is going on, because they're gonna be thinking it's like so many different agendas and shit. Meanwhile, all the people who know me at this point, and all my fan base, they're just be like, nah, man, Viral just likes fat chicks, and that's it. That's the extent of his thought. It's like he just likes fat chicks and likes to see women get fat. That is the extent of my thought process. And there was no objective here. It's just like, hey, nobody was making a game like this, so I did it myself. There. Like, goddamn, it's not hard. It's not that hard to figure it out. But people would try to tear it down and try to, like. And the sad part is, for everyone trying to like figure out what the fuck is the story behind the game, you're gonna have the people like trying to find like trying to find my background or whatever, and go into all the shit that I'm into and shit, and be like, oh, look, he draws Vor and all this, like, oh, of course, it's a furry artist and blah 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 blah. And they're trying to like make their own headcanon of the shit that I draw or the shit that I'm into. And then like if any of them fucking talk to me like and just like have a personal chat, I could easily just break it down to something simple, and then that's it. Like like I've had people assume that I listen to like certain types of music, and then when I tell them what I'm into, they're just like, "Oh, I did not expect that from you." You'd cater towards the fetish community, obviously. It would. Well, yeah, like fetish content alone would already get like attention in of itself, but only if it's like the fetish content that the air quotes normies don't like because to normies, fetish content is just seeing a boob and maybe a butt. That's it. Tits and ass. That is the height of their fetish. And it's so fucking vanilla and basic that's why it's just so like nothing to me now, because I've been seeing this for decades. And I'm just like, okay, cool, yeah, TNA, but there's other stuff, right? that's why I'm into so many different things, because I couldn't like just stay in one category for long. Because okay, I'll be honest, it wasn't even like the fetishes, it was just the artwork that made it interesting when I first got into that stuff. I just thought the artwork was really good, and it just happens to cater to those themes, and those themes just started going all over the place. It was TNA. Okay, if I had to really think about it, like in the order that I got into it, like technically furry would be the first, but I didn't even know furry was like a thing at the time. But like, I would say, God, I mean, just 90s cartoons alone did all this shit. They did the weight gain, they did the inflation, they did age regression, they did turning characters into robots or turning characters into toys, shrinking them, growing them being eaten, them being covered in slime or something. Like, cartoons alone just did everything. So, and granted, they didn't do it in like a fetishy way, well, air quotes fetishy way, like adult or anything. But when you look back when you're older, you can totally get it now. You can be like, oh, that makes sense. Like the episode of Donald and Daisy going to have a date, and Daisy tells Donald that he can't get angry anymore, and so he's like holding it back. And Goofy's their waiter at when they're having dinner, and it gets to the point where Daisy's the one who's getting pissed off, and then like a random pea falls in between Daisy's breasts, and Goofy looks at the camera. His eyebrows go up and down as he says, "Oh, I'll get that," and he bends over and he's about to, grab a pea from in between her tits, but then like other shit happens, so it's not hard to notice. Everyone's got kinks in their sleeves. It's just that people don't want to see shit that doesn't. True. And like, it's fine if you're not into it and you don't want to see it. Just don't like try to tear it down for everybody else. It's like I'm not gonna look at SpongeBob and be like, oh my god, SpongeBob is awful, and then I'm gonna spend the rest of my life to ensure that nobody else gets to enjoy SpongeBob. I'm going to infiltrate fucking Nickelodeon from the inside out and tear down SpongeBob so that way it becomes utter crap. So that way nobody can enjoy SpongeBob ever again. Or I'm gonna change SpongeBob so that instead of working at the Krabby Patty, the Krusty Krab, he's gonna be working at Chum Bucket now. It's like, I'm not gonna go to the extent that some crazy ass people do just to radically change something they either dislike or want to heavily change for their own interests. Like, that's insane. And the fact that people do this is mind-boggling. It's like, wow, you hated something so much, or you wanted to change something so drastically and ruin it for everybody else, that you spent the rest of your life to make it happen. And the irony is that they could have just made the content that they wanted to see anyway. Like, they could have just made it themselves instead of doing all the bullshit that they're doing. That's the part that blows my mind. It's like, man, all this shit about, wanting more female hero characters to be, on front covers of games and stuff like that, all of that talk, and they could have just made it themselves. It's like, I want to go from A to B, but instead we went from A to T to Z to L, everything except for B. It's like, how did you even do that? And don't get me, obviously you can get me started, but like, don't get me started on companies not utilizing their IPs properly, or to a level where it's like, oh, this has a fan base and everybody likes it, and there's constant talk about putting all this content into our game that we haven't touched in like 10-20 years, and our games are still not doing well, but we're still going to ignore everything that the fans want. It's like, damn. When you run a company so hard that you ignore everything that made your company good. It'd be like playing Mario, and you grow up with Mario using the mushroom to get bigger or whatever, but then they take that out and no longer use it for the rest of time. And then it's like, wow. And then people are like, hey, when can Mario get his mushroom power up back? And they're like, no, we're gonna give him this power up instead that makes him small. And everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing? And granted, there are people within those companies who understand this, that understand, they know what fans actually want and stuff like that. They just don't have a say. They don't have the ability to make it happen until either management changes or something goes or like I don't know, they're in the red, so they're like, shit, what do we do? And then maybe that person can be like, well, fans like this, we should do that, and they use it as an emergency button. That's like basically all they can do at this point. It's literally what happened with Final Fantasy 14. It was like, here's the game, people didn't like it, so they literally nuked the game and redid it, and now it's awesome. And they even included the nuking of the game as part of the game's story. It's like, okay, the world ended. Here we go. now everything's new. And better. Or it's like, oh, we like this type of game. Let's go back to the game's roots and make it good. Like, the fact that Pokemon is getting shown up by lower budget companies is a huge red flag. When it's like, guys, you basically made this. How are you getting schooled in your own thing? And to be fair, is because they thought they couldn't be touched at this point. And so they started getting lazy and started taking out stuff that people like. Which is why they're going back to Mega Evolution. So it's like, oh, you mean the thing that we all liked? And the sad part is like, Pokemon, or the people behind Pokemon, even admitted that they take out content so they can bring it back later and make it look like it's like new or some shit. Because they're trying to like subvert expectations, and it's like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. You would purposely make your product suck just so people will like it later down the line. That'd be like me taking out weight gain from Marcy and Skylar. Like, I just have Skylar make Marcy skinny, and then keep it like that for like 5 years, and then bring it back. It's like, why would I do that? And I'll be honest, that is not a universe. That's not a timeline I want to be in. It's like in an alternate timeline, Skylar just shivers, and Martha's like, "Oh, what's wrong?" He's like, "I don't know. Just felt a weird chill." Yeah, true. Well, there's that, and then the fact that Pokemon, their use of 3D has been poor anyway, because in I don't know what they did in X and Y, but I know in Sun and Moon they had multiple models of the same character, and the only differences would be the character's face, which is a texture anyway. So all they had to do is just change the texture. But instead, they were using up so much memory making multiple characters with different faces in the game that's why the game was like so heavily slow and hindered and stuff like that. And and like they would do the same thing for like shiny Pokemon. They would be literally different models. Pokemon with physical differences is a different thing. Like there's practically two different characters at that point. But for Sword and Shield, they have the same issue with the Dynamax Pokemon. It's like, oh, here's the same Pokemon, but it's like huge, and it's like you realize you could have just put in a feature that could have scaled it, right? So they basically made their jobs harder by not optimizing how their games worked. And granted, they were going from like 3D to handhelds to consoles, but like there's a limit to that. Like there's a limit where that could be an excuse where it's like, okay, but because like they were already dabbling in 3D since X and Y, and so no, well, not even that, they were dabbling in it in Stadium. To be fair, I think no, I'm pretty sure they were working on it. And it was Coliseum that was worked on by a different company, and Coliseum was amazing. But there's a limit to how long I can say that's their excuse before it's like, okay, if they can't do it, get somebody who can. Like, I don't understand why they're just gonna sit there and think they did a good job when everything's on fire. But again, like the fact that they keep saying that they take away content just so they can bring it back is ridiculous. Joker, I like to commission a weight loss commission. Yeah, like Pokemon has made more than enough fucking money that if something isn't coming out the way they want it, you fucking hire people who can make it happen. Even if you have to get an outsourced company to do it, you just keep an eye on them, make sure they're not fucking up your game, and there you go. Like, that's literally how companies should be doing it. It's like, hey, we can't do this, we'll get a company who can do it. Like, wow. Like, who would have thought that had been a good idea? Like, Jesus. But again, you have to like keep, like, you don't just hire a company and then leave them alone. Like, you gotta stay on their ass, or else you're gonna have a situation like Resident Evil 3 remake, where it was just like really shallow and bare bones, and like Nemesis didn't even really do anything. Like, you're gonna have situations like that, so you have to stay on their ass. You don't just leave them alone. Like, I don't know. I always feel like it's weird that companies who have either been in business for a long period of time, or even just certain people who have been in business for a long period of time, keep making decisions that would ultimately bankrupt them, or, you know, just destroy their content. And it's like, I don't get it. How do you work in this field for this long and still not understand what the fuck you're doing? But then at the same time, I understand, oh yeah, a lot of these people are just investors who just throw money at the company or product or whatever, and then just wait and for it to make more money. Like, that's it. That's the extent of their knowledge. They don't actually know how to make the content or what goes into it. They just sit there twiddling their thumbs and think they did a good job when they didn't do anything. Like, I've seen Nintendo stockholder meetings where the people having the stock or funding the company are like, how come it's taking blank amount of time to make so much money? And they don't understand how video games are made. They don't understand that it takes a few years to get shit done. Sometimes it could be done faster, but you're doing some fucking miracle situation in that moment. But yeah, there are tons of people who don't know what the fuck goes into the companies that they fund. And it's depressing. It's like, man, glad you have that kind of confidence to put in so much money into a company you know nothing about. Like, that is some massive balls you have to be doing that. It's like all you heard was the name and that was it. No worries. Hope you have a good night. I'm debating on how much longer I'm going to go. I'll probably go until 3 and then call it. I wanted to go longer, but I was like, nah, I should probably just keep it 3 hours for this week, and maybe next week we can go longer. But yeah, have a good night, you eepy. But yeah, I'm just... It's one of those situations where I wonder what I would do if I had a shit ton of money. And I knew what the fuck I was doing with it. Probably hire whoever can make role-playing games and just make some interesting games out of those. Definitely a fighting game. Shit, that'd be fun. If I had that kind of time, I would definitely make it myself if I could. Look up like tutorials and stuff. Yeah, I would definitely make a fucking fighting game. That shit would be fun. Pick all my favorites. If Skylar was a fighting game character, he would be interesting because he would just incorporate Marcy into some of his specials or something like that. Probably do something with Tiffany, like crams a muffin in her mouth and then tosses her, and then she immediately gets fat and flattens the opponent or something. Something goofy. Like, Skylar would definitely be more on the goofier side, unless it was the Devil Chef version. He would just be murderous, and then maybe his fattening abilities would be like a finisher or something. Okay, that's fine. I don't need to go crazy on that end. I would, if I had a shit ton of money, I would definitely either buy a shit ton of stocks in companies that I want to succeed, like in terms of like the content that they actually make and shit like that. So, like, for example, I would probably invest in Sega to the point where I can actually have like a say in what happens, and to start putting shit back that people actually like from Sonic. It's like, alright, get this guy, he's a really good writer. Get the Freedom Fighters back in. Oh, them's fighting her. Shh, they got screwed over so hard. that shit is not That was such a bullshit situation for them. That was not fair. But but yeah, like when I heard what happened with that company, I was just like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" It's like we're gonna let go of everybody except for like 3 people, and then we're gonna not finish up the game or at least have it in a stable condition. Which I think they're fixing that. Like the remaining people are fixing what they can. But yeah, it's just I don't fucking understand that. I'd probably have my card game as a digital game. That'd be fun. But yeah, like I would probably use if I have an infinite amount of money, or at least making enough to matter. I would try to revive certain things I liked from certain companies and all that. So like for Sonic, it'd be like a shit ton of like fan favorite stuff. The stuff they can use because unfortunately a large chunk of characters can't be used now because of legal reasons. But yeah, that would be like my go-to scenarios. I would fucking have Capcom bring back Darkstalkers. It's like for the love of God, bring these characters back. And one thing I would bring back is fighting games being able to be fucking violent and still be like not Mortal Kombat levels of violence. Like whatever happened to characters being able to bleed? Like damn. That wasn't even like a big deal for some games. Like Street Fighter had Vega who could make people bleed. And the fact that they've watered that down over the years is depressing. And granted, it's not that big of a change, but still, it's like it shouldn't have changed in the first place. Or like the Armika butt smack camera. Like they had to change that, which was ridiculous. And it was mostly because Sony was paying for the game, and for some fucking reason, Sony is all on the whole no lewd content. And I'm like, what the hell happened to you? It's like, Sony, who hurt you? I was talking about how Vega from Street Fighter used to be able to make people bleed, and nowadays he can't, which is confusing as fuck. I do like that they brought in battle damage in Street Fighter 6. Or did they remove that? Did they remove it? Oh, okay, it's only okay, yeah. It is in the game. You just can't use it online. But yeah, that would just be me. Just doing what I can to make the games that I've grown up with that were good stay good. Like, they don't even have to be better, they just gotta be as good as they were. And that's saying something where classic games are better than current games. And from what I've heard, apparently a lot of people, a lot of Gen Z people are playing older games now because all the newer games have become shittier over time. Like, obviously there's still going to be good modern games, but man, when you've fucked up so hard that people would prefer to play older games, which they have an extremely huge library of, I mean, that's saying something. Like, damn, how did you fuck up that hard? Yeah, maybe someday. It would likely focus on the World Gates characters first before branching out to like I-Hat, Black Circus, and Creamfield and all that. Yeah, you know what? We'll play that right now. Because this playlist is pretty long. I just gotta be careful of what I play, because sometimes it'll get screwed over on when I posted it elsewhere. Dark Champion stage. Check my messages real quick. Everything looks fine. Oh shit. I will be right back. No, I'm back. Just had a package get delivered, and I don't know how long it's been sitting there. I didn't see a notification. Let's play this. Wait, you can use Streamlabs on TikTok now? How the hell does that work? Yeah, I did. I wish they would just sell it as a collaboration thing rather than having to go all the way to IHOP to do that, and I think you have to get the app too. It's cute though. I like that they did something. Not sure if I'll get it though. I'm kind of content with the Sonic Adventure Amy look skin that they put him in. Now, if only Sega would stop being assholes about who's allowed to go super and who isn't, and just let people have fun with the idea of Knuckles, Tails, and Amy having super forms instead of air quotes super powered forms, which is fucking stupid. It's like, oh, they have superpowers. Like, that's stupid. Why did you change that? Like, they are so hell bent on making only Sonic and I guess Shadow and Silver to a degree having super forms, and I guess Trip, because Trip technically has a super form. I mean, hell, even Metal Sonic has a super form, so I don't fucking know, or Mecha Sonic definitely. But yeah, I don't understand. I think Metal technically does because of the cartoon or the animated short. The Hooters outfit. Ha. I mean, given what's happened in the past, they probably have something like that. It's only in fucking Japan or some bullshit. I would not be surprised if it's region locked, or it's like Japan exclusive, which would be fucking bullshit. I just wish they would put Vanilla in a new game, because she has not appeared since the Advance games. She has yet to appear in any other game. And that's a damn shame. You know what? They're afraid. They're afraid that if they put her into a 3D game, there's gonna be so much porn of her, even though there already is. It's like they are not ready to open that Pandora's box. Yeah, but that was just a JPEG. I mean, that doesn't really count at that point. I mean, I guess technically that's the same thing for the advanced games. But I mean, outside of those, it's like I would like to see her in a mainline game where she's fully 3D rendered. Because even Cream has been 3D was it several times? I want to say several times. I want to say she has. Because I know his Heroes. Was she in what was it called? Is it called Runners? I can forget what the game was. It was that PSP game or whatever. I know she's been in Dash. Yeah, Vanilla's just too OP. It's like they made a great mom character, and now they're afraid to do more with her. They're like, shit, she's perfect. What do we do? And so far, it seems they're okay with shipping her with Vector. So now it's just a matter of them doing more with that. And that's like the other thing. It's like one of their new rules for the current comics of Sonic is that relationships can't be like declared, I guess to be the phrase for it. And then they can't be as detailed as the Archie comics were back in the 90s, which is a damn shame because that's when a lot of shit happened with characters. Like, it's like in terms of like the level of maturity for the series, it's heavily watered down from what it used to be. And granted, back in the day, there was no lore, and so people were literally just making shit up, and then just kind of, you know, running with it. They were just doing whatever they could. And Sega was pretty hands off back then. But because of He Who Should Not Be Named, they have to. Now they're on a tighter leash. Which is why it's taken so long for Shadow to get any actual story going on. Because they're just now giving Shadow more story with the Sonic Cross Shadow Generations thing. And look how long it's been since Shadow's been a character. You actually don't need that top one. But yeah, it's just Sega and Nintendo. I think I'm pretty sure I've said this already before, but Sega and Nintendo are both sitting on extremely interesting characters and IP, and they're barely tapping into it, like, at all. Like, I still laugh that Nintendo's stock went up when Bowsette was a thing. And the irony is that they actually did have a Bowsette-like character in their concept art for when they made Mario Odyssey. So it's not even like Nintendo didn't think of doing something like that. They just pansied out and didn't do it. It's like, man, you guys could have did Bowsette first, but you pussied out because they didn't want to have an evil princess. And I'm like, are you fucking high? And then we later on find out that there was concept art for an evil version of or a evil doppelganger of Peach called Waru Peach, and they didn't want to use her because it would have reminded people of Duranjo from Yadaman. And I'm like, if anything, that would have just made them like it more. So I'm just like, man, you guys gotta stop second guessing yourselves. It's like they keep having good ideas and then not using it. Or like heavily altering them from what they could have been. And then the weird part is, even when they do change stuff, for some reason it's like they always run out of time and don't even get to like fully capitalize on whatever it was they did decide to work on. Like there's some innate deadline. And yeah, that's like another thing. Deadlines for like companies that shouldn't even have deadlines are so fucking strange. And I get it, it's because of fucking stockholders. Like that's like stockholders is like the one thing that fucks up a lot of companies, because they have to bend over backwards for them. Which, I mean, makes sense on one end because it's like, well, they are giving them the money, but it's like stockholders don't have faith in like the companies that have proven themselves to do a good job. Now everything's like, oh, you have 1 year to make a game that takes like 3 to 5 years, and they're like, well, fuck us. And granted, it's a good thing that DLC is a thing, but it shouldn't have to be heavily relied on in order to fix a game. It's like we shouldn't have to put out a game that's going to be trash in order to make that game not be trashed later, just to appeal to people who don't even care about the products we make. Yeah, I heard like the new Peach game is like pretty underwhelming from what I've heard. It's like it has like a lot of good ideas, but nothing that they capitalize on. It's like pretty basic. And like they're thinking, and like some people were trying to make the excuses like, oh well, they just don't like that it's a princess game. It's like, no, people like Peach. It's just they didn't try to do anything with it. Like, I have liked playing as Peach since Super Mario 2 USA, that version of the game. Like, Peach was like the best character to play as because she was so fucking fun because you could fly. There's not a lot of because like not a lot of games back in the day just let you fly. In terms of like, you know, a platformer game where you're just a character that runs and jumps on things. Not a lot of things let you just fucking fly. And so her being playable in that game was fucking great. And for like and to be fair, I think like some of that could have been applied to that Mario 2 was originally like a Doki Doki Panic, I think that's what it was. Like I understand that was like, you know, it was just carrying over from that game, but still. Like, you have a mechanic that makes Peach interesting, and it works. And then throughout the years, she's gained like other skills and stuff and such. And then now you have a game that's specifically about that, and somehow you fuck it up by making her boring as fuck. I don't know. I'm just baffled. I'm baffled that there are people who have been working on games for decades and still don't understand what made their games good. Yeah, and that's like another thing. Some people keep thinking that men don't want to play as female characters, and I'm just like, that is stupid. That is the most dumbass thing I ever heard. Men love playing as women. Hell, I remember one of my friends asked me why I was playing as a female trainer for Pokemon Y, and I was like, they have more options. And they're like, what? And so I explained it to them. Like, I showed my character, I showed all the outfits and stuff that my character had, and I was like, see, I got stockings, I got the torn stockings, I got long hair, hat, glasses, and all that. And then they were looking at their character because their character was male, and they're just seeing that. See, all the males get is just like jeans and a vest, and maybe a jacket or something, and that was like kind of it. And he was like, damn, you're right. So all I did was just make a point. I was just like, I like designing the characters better. Yeah, Metroid was a good thing. It was just like people thought that Samus was a male until the end of the game, and then find out that it's a woman. They're like, oh shit, and it just made her even better. And that was like the only time they could have pulled that off too, was the first game, because they made Samus look more like a male with the suit. But after that, they just made the suit more feminine. Because it's like, okay, everybody knows that Samus is a girl now. Or is a woman, so we'll just make the suit more feminine. Well, the high heels was, I think, because of Smash, because they wanted to give her the ability to be more mobile and make sense. Also, it was probably a hint at Bayonetta being added to the game, which eventually happened. Well, it was made. It was made by a guy who's been making games for 25 years. But you also have to understand that Nintendo has a huge chokehold on their characters, and so, they probably had a huge say in what Peach was able to do. It's kind of like the situation where in a lot of newer Mario games, a lot of the characters you come across are mostly Toads, with the exception of like certain situations where you might have like a new race of characters, but those characters are like barely interesting at all. Whereas you have the first 3 Paper Mario games where there was like a shit ton of variety of characters, because like you have like Yoshi's, Ghosts, Koopa Troopas, and so on. Like you just have like and like they're like so drastic with their designs that's why these characters are more memorable. But after those 3 games, all we really had was like Toads and maybe 1 or 2 new race that you don't even get to do anything with. They're just kind of there, and there's like not too much of the story is not as drastic as the first 3 Paper Mario games, which is why they're remaking the second Paper Mario game. It's like, this is the most popular one, we're gonna bring it back, and everyone's like, fuck yeah. I mean, hopefully that might, tell them that they should be making more games like that, but who knows, because, every time they do something right, for some reason they just have to fuck it up later. Oh yeah, Sora getting into Smash. I mean, they had to jump through so many hoops with fucking Disney just to make that happen. Because you have to think about it, like he had to worry about the stage that they could use, the Kingdom Tea, because they couldn't let Kirby copy it. They had to worry about voice lines, which I think were just reused from the Kingdom Hearts game, and then they had to worry about the music, which is why Simple and Clean couldn't be used. There's just so much red tape with Sora, and then like his amiibo has barely come out or barely released. Like, it took so long for all that to happen. And then, and like even when they could use a level, they had to use Hollow Bastion, which to be honest, I like Hollow Bastion. That's my favorite level from Kingdom Hearts 1. But yeah, if they were gonna use like any other stage, like they definitely couldn't use anything Disney related. Like even Donald and Goofy had to be removed from the memorial or the stained glass painting of Sora, and replaced with just like shapes and stuff. So there was so much that went down with Sora that it's amazing that he got into the game in the first place. It's like, that's just like one of those miracle situations. Which is why if they ever make a new Kingdom Hearts game, or not Kingdom Hearts, Smash game, it's gonna have a really hard time topping the roster from Smash Ultimate, because Ultimate literally put in every character from the past games into it and more. And so they either have to just make a brand new Smash series, or honestly, all they should really do is just take Ultimate and just expand on it. Like, that would be the smart thing to do. because Nintendo's never been concerned with the graphics, so they could just stick with what they have with Ultimate and then go from there. But who knows? Maybe they have a better idea. Do I even need to use this? Because it never seems to be that big of a deal. I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to go to the next step. Like, I'm surprised they haven't made a Smash Brothers kart game, which almost looked like that's what they were going to do with Mario Kart 8 when they added in Link and Animal Crossing and stuff like that. I was like, oh, they could make a Smash for Mario Kart. That'd be sick. Like, okay, if they made a Smash Brothers for Mario Kart, they could have, you know, a shit ton of characters, and they could give characters like special moves. So like have like the Smash Ball as like a random item you could get from the blocks, from the weapon blocks. And you know, the Smash Ball just lets the character use like a critical attack to help them get into first place. Like, you know, Mario could just shoot a giant wave of fireballs forward like a Hadouken, or Link could like zip over to like three carts ahead of them and just zip line like a huge slash. Like, that would be cool. Or for Kirby, he absorbs a character, or like sucks up a character and shoots them backwards after copying them, and whatever he copies can be either the Smash, the final Smash ability, or it could be like a random power up that's equivalent to that character. So like, you know, if he swallows Mario, for example, he could get a fire flower abilities or something like that. Like, it's not like this is not a difficult thing to figure out. It's just they won't do it, or they haven't either. Well, I don't know, maybe they haven't thought of doing it. But yeah, it just seems like something they could do. Like, just take Mario Kart, make it Smash Brothers, done. And you just have, and then like all the racing tracks are just various levels from Nintendo games. So like, oh, we're riding through one of the levels from Metroid. And they kind of, like, it looked like they were kind of doing that when they put in the F-Zero stage for Mario Kart 8. So it's like they had the idea, but didn't like commit, because they even put in like Captain Falcon as a costume. So it's like we were right there, but then they just didn't go all the way. So who knows? Maybe for all we know, it could be a game that they're working on. Maybe they just did that to test the waters, to be like, okay, we put in Isabelle, we put in Link, we put in the Koopaling. Well, the Koopalings could have always been there, but still, like, it would be interesting if they could if they could do something like that. Or they could do a different type of Smash Brothers game where it's like a different fighting game style. So instead of, you know, platforming, it's just like classic fighting, like Street Fighter. Like, they could do that, or make their own Marvel vs. Capcom type of game. Like, they have options. It's just a matter of what they decide to do. And all they have to do is just do a good job with branding. Like, if they choose to call it Smash Brothers, they need to make it distinct enough so that it doesn't get confused as playing like the originals. Because you don't want to have people, you know, trying to be like, oh, I thought it was going to be like the old games, but, you know, instead it's this. Just make it clear, like, call it Smash Brothers Versus or Smash Brothers Racing. You know, just make it so fucking obvious that this is a different type of game, and then you're fine. Like, yeah, you'll still have people who will bitch for a bit, but if you can make the game fun after that point, then you're good. Like, people bitching about a game is a given. It's just better if they don't cater to it. Just make the game they want to make and go from there. But a lot of the times the problem with Nintendo is that they're kind of trapped in their demographic or their audience, and it makes it really hard for them to like branch out. Which is ironic because Nintendo is basically the Disney of video games. And in Disney's case, Walt Disney did have this issue where he would see like people making really good movies that are like heavily deep or like dark in some cases and stuff, and he made a comment where he basically said that he loved watching those types of stories, but he hated the fact that he would never be able to make that kind of content because Disney was already locked into the whole family friendly thing. And so making animations of more like mature and dark situations was just not an option in a lot of cases. And granted, like some animations did have some moments here and there, like, you know, Maleficent being stabbed in the chest and she's bleeding, but that's like the extent. Like it couldn't, like you can't see Disney making like The Last Unicorn and have that scene with the harpy with her tits out just flopping around as she's chasing the characters. Like, you're just not gonna see that in a Disney movie unless it's like really well snuck in and like last minute snuck in where they can't even change it immediately, which is sad because now they have the ability to retcon their movies by altering them, which they should never do. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. Like, it's fine if you want to make additions to the movies and all that, but just make it a different edition. It's like if you want to go back and give Mickey a big dick, just make. It's like, oh, here we go, Mickey's big dick edition. There you go. Don't like go back into like older animations and just toss that in as if it was always there. It's like, no, you're just ruining it at that point. But yeah, sometimes you're just you gotta decide if you want to be locked into a theme or audience or something, and you gotta decide if that's what you want to have forever. That's why I like doing variety, because even if I like one thing, that doesn't mean I want that to be the only thing I do. Exactly. and like, I get it. Like, you're trying to not rock the boat to the point where people just leave and you're bankrupt or whatever. Like, I get it, especially if you're doing the whole family friendly thing. When it comes to family friendly stuff, it is really fucking hard to try to do something more mature, because you'll always have those people who think that that kind of content isn't good or shouldn't be a thing or some bullshit. You have to you kind of have to ignore that and just do what you want, because you gotta basically let people know they have the agency of just going somewhere else for the content that they're looking for. And granted, technically you don't want that, because you know you want people to stay so that way you're raking in the money and stuff like that. Like, I get it, but at the same time, you should be allowed to make different content. The people who like it will come, and the people who don't will go somewhere else. But then once you make the content that they like, they will come back. Like, they just need to acknowledge that if there's something they don't like, they don't have to deal with it. But if something comes along that they do like, they can come back. It's not like this is the one place that makes what I want and that is it. Like I will go nowhere else. Is this and only this, and I don't want this company to change because then it's bad somehow. And granted, like some companies have done that where they want to do something else and it ends up being awful, and so they have to backpedal. Like that's a possibility. I will call her back in a moment. It's a possibility, but I don't know. I feel like you have to be pretty confident in what you want to do to make it work, and not just do it with no plan, or if you do it, you end up pussying out. It's like you had it, you wanted to do it, you were so for it, but then you saw like the backlash and the comments about, oh my god, this person's changed, or oh my god, this is so bad, blah 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 blah, and then you pussy out, and then the thing you wanted to make ends up becoming worse because you didn't want to give it your all, and then you go back to making the thing you didn't want to make, and then you're trapped making that forever. I don't know. I guess the saying for this is just, take some risks, but also be smart about it as best as you can, so that way you're not too far in the hole if things don't go right. Just have some confidence, I guess. Have confidence in your ability to succeed, even if you're doing something that's different. And with that, I think I will call it for today. So I will continue finishing this up in a bit and put it on Patreon. Thank you everybody for coming. I will stream again tomorrow. Today is Wednesday, right? Yeah, I'll stream again tomorrow. I'm going to try doing it at the same time, so 12 p.m. Pacific time. And then next week, I'm going to try to do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. Roughly the same time. Like, I want to try to keep this consistent. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming. Sorry if my voice has been raspy. Still getting over being sick. But yeah. You guys have a good night or day, or you guys take care, alright? Talk to you later. Bye-bye.